Okay, the attendees are entering the room. You can see the participants and you can see the attendees. We're at about 14 right now. May give them a few minutes, a couple minutes. We're live on YouTube.
Looks like we got about 20, so we're ready to go. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank everybody for being able to attend our meeting today. And so I just want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Joe Price. I'm the new city manager of Canyon. And today's discussion will be mostly geared around retail and restaurants and businesses in Canyon. And so we're going to try to go over some of the individual lines that the information that the governor has sent out to all the cities in the state of Texas, specifically on those retail and restaurants and businesses. So thank you for joining us today. I hope everybody is in good health. I know that as a personal feeling, not necessarily as a economic feeling, we know that a lot of us businesses in town are suffering. And so we want to help transition back to opening Texas as the governor has initiated. So before we get into things, joined with me is Mayor Gary Henders and Mayor Pro Tem Cody Jones. I'd like to pass the ball over to them to have some opening comments. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to. Business owners and restaurants, we just thank you for just holding in with us. We know there's a lot of suffering, and we're going to try to help relieve that. I hope you're taking advantage of the EDC offerings there, and we're praying for you guys. We're praying for your safety. We're praying for prosperity, and just thank you for being great partners with us here at the city.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to go ahead and make some statements?
Sure. Thank you all for joining today. I think we're all ready to get back and move towards opening up, and we do realize that this has been a tough road for restaurants, and we appreciate a lot of you all really working hard to do it well during this time period, and set up new systems that touchless stuff and make it to where limited the risk as much as possible during this time. And I think it says a lot for Canyon at this point. I think to you all, to our citizens in general, that we've had 10 cases so far. Last numbers we had were 6 active cases. You can see other areas. We've got local hotspots, and Potter County, just Cody, I think between Potter and Randall, there were 80 new cases yesterday, I believe. So there's still a lot of concerns out there, and so a lot of things we've got to do well. We've got to be careful, but I think just if you look at Canyon and what you all are doing and what citizens here are doing, a lot of it's going very well. And so thank you. We've got to continue to do that. We've got to get the word out to the citizens too. It's important as you all move forward that we do, it's all about how we do this and social distancing and doing it well. But a big part of it is you all don't need to be the police. As people come into restaurants, they need to be aware and be ready to do that as well. So, and I'll just echo what Cody said. I think sounds like Don Lee has joined us on the line. We're here with you. We hate where this has gone, and just kudos our EDC and picking up funding a $200,000 piece to, I know you divide that into smaller, it's up to 5,000 each, but that's still a piece that can help and just maybe help get over the hump here until we get fully opened up. So, but anyway, appreciate you all and appreciate Joe Price doing a tremendous job as our city manager and so great leader for our city. So appreciate all he's doing here in the midst of this. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Appreciate the great words. I know a lot of our owners haven't here in town and interested parties haven't got to see a lot of things on this side of the tracks. And, going to what y'all said, things have been fluid, from day to day, even from hour to hour at times on our side and visiting with Amarillo staff, as well as talking with the governor's staff and talking to their liaisons. So hopefully we can give some insight on that to our owners today. But I do want to start on the rudimentary level as we go down this path, kind of go into some of the content that Cody and Gary have already indicated. We have about 6 to 7 positive cases. Our highest number was 10 at one time. We've had several roll off of that and have recovered. Randall County as a whole is not exponentially spiking, so that is a very good sign for us. On our end and with our counterpart, Amarillo Public Health, the city is under Amarillo Public Health's authority in regards to all things related to epidemiology and things that are happening right now. So we're looking at their lead and relying on Dr. Scott Milton for a lot of the local decisions that are made here. Not every decision that Canyon's made has been identical to Amarillo, but there have been a lot of similarities, at least at the high level. And so we have been visiting with them almost at least 3 times a week, if not more, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. And so we're working with them on a daily basis. And, they're looking at certain doubling factors to see how much we're spiking as the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem indicated. Potter County has had a significant jump. Obviously, we know that a lot of that's related to the meat packing plant, being one of our major businesses in this region. And so I do feel a lot more comfortable when Randall County is not spiking to that degree. And so we continue to look at those factors to see how much we go up. As testing increases, obviously our positives will increase. So we're doing all we can to keep those numbers active as much as possible, but pretty good sign that we only have 6 to 7 active cases right now in Canyon. I do know a few of those are hospitalized. The rest of those are quarantined at home. So as you also know, a lot of the restaurants here in town, we're also under Amarillo Environmental Health. They cover a lot of the aspects for the city of Canyon to do a lot of our environmental health stuff that deal directly with your health permits and all the things that go into that aspect. And so they are also still actively participating in this process. Their director, Anthony Spinell, and our staff is constantly communicating, especially through these changes. So they will be an active player as well through this. And so the standards we're about to talk about, are hand in hand happening both in Amarillo and in Canyon. And so most of this guidance that we're about to go over does rely directly in the governor's book. So apologize, I will be reading some as we go through some of these, but I can provide this documentation to you. I believe we will have it up on our city homepage shortly, if not already, to go over and so for you to look at it. And so I do have some clarifications in terms of the occupancy percentage that we visited with the governor's office for some clarification on. So I'm going to start with the restaurants as we move into that. The Open Texas guidebook that we have received has restaurants singled out as a specific category. And so there is an area specific for them. And so I'll start with the health protocols for your facilities. And so some of these things that y'all have already been doing, but I just want to go over those, and I'm going to go over this pretty quickly, so we're not here all day. Some of these facilities protocols that you need to have is if you do open your dine-in service to the 25% rule. So what does that mean? Basically, if you have an occupancy right now for 60 people in one of your dining rooms, you can open that to 25%, which would be 15 people. And so that, as we've discovered from the governor's office, does not include staff or personnel for the restaurant. And so that number does not include staff and personnel for the restaurant. And the same will go for retail. those numbers, you could have 15 total people in your restaurant space that had the 60 occupancy. And so in regards to those, certain protocols need to be in place as a guidance. Having an employee manage and control access to the restaurant is one. Regularly clean and disinfect all tables and touch surfaces, doorknobs, doors, handles, everything. Regularly and frequently clean restrooms. For example, the city and certain places that are open will be cleaning the restrooms at minimum 2 times a day. Disinfect everything that the customers come in contact with. Hand sanitizer right at the front of the door and is readily available to your employees and customers all over the place. Place signs up in the restaurant and on the front door. The city is doing that in their facilities. We're placing signs up of how many people can come in, as well as to please continue to have proper hygiene. Clean and disinfect the dining tables as frequent as possible. I know a lot of you are already doing this, but continue to clean the chairs, stalls, everything you can that has been as people that are touching, and then clean, of course, and sanitize, clean and sanitize, clean and sanitize. Those are some of the things you need to do in regards to the facilities. Health protocols for your employees. Continue to make sure none of them are sick. Train all the employees to make sure that they're effectively sanitizing and cleaning appropriately. Some of the guidelines that I just went over. A lot of y'all are more experts than we are in regards to that. I know Emerald Environmental Health goes over a lot of that with you. If you do have employees that have new and worsening signs of symptoms, make sure that they are quarantined and getting tested, and that you're not allowing them to be interacting with the general public. If you do have an employee that has come in contact to a person confirmed with COVID-19, the guidance is to do a 14-day self-quarantine period. So that is a 14-day self-quarantine day period. That excludes health workers. Have employees continue to wash their hands effectively. That's already in the law, but doing it more and more frequently. Try to have your employee staff to continue to maintain that 6 feet separation. Obviously, that can be difficult in the kitchen and in certain congregating areas where you're doing drink fillets, but try to do that as much as possible. One of the big ones that we've been talking about is the mask. Just so you know, Canaan is not mandating people to wear masks. I know a lot of communities and counties have done that. We are strictly indicating that we highly encourage people to wear masks. Dr. Scott Milton has also indicated that as well. If you've seen him out and about, he's wearing one all the time. But we ask that your staff wear face coverings over their nose and mouth, and should, if necessary, wear a medical grade mask. But non-medical grade also work as well. So that's some of the measures on employees. Going into serving for your customers, some of the different things we've got going on right now. Try to have parties. If you have a table here, the next table should try to be at least 6 feet apart. And so trying to make those separated as much as possible. Hand sanitization, have that available as much as possible. The guidance says no more than 6 to a table is the desire. Also, in terms of setting the table, try not to leave condiments, silverware, glassware. Shouldn't be anything on the table as best possible. They highly encourage doing throwaway and disposable menus, not using your regular menus, because if you do use those, you'll have to continuously wipe those down after they're being used. Only providing condiments upon request and not having them on the table. I don't think we have many buffets in town, but if we do have people wanting to do buffet, the employees of the restaurant should provide that to the customer, and the customer should not get up and go and touch all the surfaces on the buffet. As well, try to do everything you can to do a contactless payment process. So those are some of the high strokes. I do want to indicate, TABC is still allowing to do the alcohol and the to-go deliveries. We do realize a lot of the restaurants in town may not open up, and that is their choice, and we at the city strongly support that choice. Our speculation right now is what the governor said is that we have probably a 14-day window right now And so yesterday afternoon, the City Commission of Canyon executed and ratified the disaster declaration to go up through May 18th. And so at May 18th or around that time, May 15th, 18th, somewhere in that time, the governor will reassess how we're doing statewide with the numbers and if they're spiking or not with these relaxation of restrictions. Moving forward, we speculate if they do, we'll probably move from 25% occupancy to 50%. Unsure if that is exactly the case, but some of the information that we're reading about and that we're hearing from the governor's office would indicate that to be true. So I'd like to go ahead and open it up for restaurants to ask any questions right now. I will indicate again that the occupancy number, if you do need that and don't know it, most of y'all have a placard that's blasted from Canyon's Planning and Development Department, from Danny Cornelius. They set those occupancies. If you don't know those, please reach out to Planning and Development. We can pull your file to double check and give you that information of what the 25% would be. So we'd be happy to help in that category. All of this goes into effect at 12:01 tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning at 12:01, this goes into effect. So if you did choose to open your dine-in service, you can start that tomorrow. So,
Joe, could I clarify one thing I said too? Please?
Yes, Mayor, go ahead.
I just like to throw out, I said, we don't expect you all to have to be the police, but we do need you. It's very important, the social distancing. Set this up to where customers will be successful, you'll be successful. And so talking about the 6 feet apart, making that to where people inside the restaurant can physically, with the way you set up tables, but also communication to your customer. And so probably something outside the door. That 6 feet is so important, and customers knowing that. I think we can help with some of that communication to get to you, but we need you all to help with that communication piece too, that we've got to make the social distancing successful. Thank you.
Paige Nestor has her hand up. You can allow her to talk.
Yeah, go ahead, Paige, ask your question.
Okay, we have basically a pasture area or a big outdoor area for seating. Does the occupancy level include outdoor seating?
Paige, typically when we have a patio of sorts, we do have an occupancy set for that specific area. If you don't have one right now, we can get with planning development to come up with a good number of what it would be. When we set those occupancies, those are based on 15 square foot per person. And so the big thing is we don't want to have a mass gathering. And so to do everything we can for that. Does your pasture area, does it have a fence of any sort?
No.
So probably be best to visit with Danny Cornelius on setting a good occupancy page right now on what that would be. And then we can assess what 25%. We just don't want to overcrowd at this point in time.
Agreed. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Great question. If you have anybody has any questions, please submit those in the Q&A, or that's preferable, but if not, you can go ahead and do that in the chat. I will go on and say that if you did watch the governor's press conference at 2:30 on Monday, he did mention several panhandle counties. The Texas Panhandle is not in the same place as the major metropolitan areas. We are probably 2 to 3 weeks behind those major areas for sure. Undoubtedly, and our medical professional has been saying that as well. And so I just want everybody to be clarified that is kind of where we're at in our conditions. We're probably 2 to 3 weeks behind those. We've all known that the Panhandle is 2 to 3 weeks behind most of the major areas, metropolitan areas in Texas. It's been like that for a long time. This is no different. So I can tell you from the city stance, the only thing that the city facilities are opening is the golf course is already open. We're going to allow golf carts, 1 per cart, and then we're going to open the library to limited service and to limited hours. That's it. City Hall is not going to open. Community Center is not going to open. We are still in discussion if the CAP will even open this summer. Most things are still going to be closed in the city facility. So we just want you to understand that what our condition here is not the same condition in Dallas, Houston, and those major areas. So we are behind in that. Those are what the numbers are telling Amarillo Public Health. So switching over, I'd like to go into retail real quick and look at those. I'm going to same premise as I did for the restaurants. A lot of the same things goes for your retail customers to make sure that you're screening people that are, make sure they don't have the symptoms, including customers. Make sure they have hands washed and disinfected, as much disinfectant as possible. One of the things that's good is to avoid doors being touched, is just having the door open so they don't have to touch the door coming into your retail business. Continue to hand sanitize the payment process in the system. You know, clean those the credit card machines as much as possible. Those are one of the things you have touched quite a bit. Do everything you can to continue to do the 6 feet distancing. The 6 feet distancing is the same across all the boards. So continue to do that. Make sure to try to have your staff wear masks if you deem it appropriate in your business. Masks are highly encouraged, not mandated, highly encouraged. So as you know, the mask protects the other individuals. It makes sure the spread does not happen. So if I'm sick, I'm not spreading it to the mayor who's next to me. And so that's the goal with the mask. And so those are continued to be highly recommended. So other than that, that's most for the retail aspect. There's not a whole lot on that. I do feel that restaurants and retail in Canyon have been doing a great job in regards to social distancing and restrictions of that nature. I think that's why the numbers show what they are. And so I feel, and I know the rest of the commission feels the same way, that we're doing a great job here in town. But that's most of that. That's also in this handbook. All other businesses outside of retail and restaurants should continue to maintain the same level of social distancing, sanitization, if they can, to go ahead and work from home and do everything they can to avoid gatherings and things of that nature. Other than that, that's the biggest part I've got. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So just so you know, we've got probably another 2 weeks at 25% for now, and we will go ahead and watch and visit with the governor's office and our counterparts around the state to see how things are progressing. I do want to reiterate, the Panhandle is not in the same state as the rest of the state of Texas. You know, we're a few weeks behind, and it shows. And I know there was a lot of heartburn when they started opening things up, and I know we are very concerned. But I just want you to be aware that our condition is not the same as the rest of the state, and we need to be highly careful we need to be as careful as possible as we moved at least through the next 2 weeks. Some of the things that we're thinking on moving this through the summer is probably a given. This will last all summer. Will be social distancing of some sort, you know, moving into fall. What those restrictions are, I'm not sure, but social distancing will be probably at the top of the list in regards to that. And so mass gatherings will continue to be a hot discussion. Right now, the stay-at-home order is not technically in place, but if you're not going to one of these places that has been established, retail or restaurants, you know, it indicates from the governor in his executive order 18 to minimize basically minimize gatherings, minimize your interactions with people not in the same household. So that, to that effect, is still it's somewhat of a stay at home. So if you're not going to one of these other places, you should still take proactive measures to minimize those things. But does anybody else have any questions at all? We just wanted to do what we could to get all this information out. If you need any information on your occupancy, we would be happy to help provide that to the Planning and Development Department. Most everybody knows Mr. Danny Cornelius and his staff, and so we would be happy to do that. We are hoping that enforcement on this is not going to have to be necessary. We will look to do that if needed. Amarillo Environmental Health and the Fire Marshal Office here in Canyon will be taking those efforts, but so far, everything has been great. We've not had a lot of complaints. Most things are coming in complaint-based, and we're looking into it, and things have been good. So I've been very proud of each of you and all the efforts you're taking. So,
Joe, Dan has his hand up. Dan Schumann.
okay, will you give Dan access?
Yeah, this is Dan Schumann. I just had a quick question with the community center. When do we see that coming back up? Looking at Lions Club, I know we average, between 65 and 70 members in attendance on a weekly basis. What are we looking at the community center as far as that goes? Some of the different things and ways that we may be able to do something there.
Dan, I'll just be honest. It will be one of the last things to open back up. I'll probably open City Hall in the next 15 to 30 days. The community center will be one of the last things to open because of the congregation aspect of it. But we don't have a set time on it, but we will continue to weigh those options. But I will say it will be one of the last open. So that could be at least 30 days out, more than less, at least that at minimum. What I would suspect, but
okay.
we will continue to weigh that aspect. The hard thing is to try to police that. We've canceled most gatherings through May, and we're talking to those folks in June. So we're still a little ways out on the community center, and a lot of other city community centers are in the same boat. And so we're trying to communicate with our sister cities in regards to that. And so we're trying to at least be consistent in that regards. So I hope that answers your questions. I don't have any definitive dates, unfortunately, as this is so fluid right now and goes back to our conditions. But so sorry, that was the best answer I could give you.
Well, that's okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Hope you're well.
Yep, everybody's good.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Mandy Williams.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean. Let Mandy in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mandy. How's it going?
Good. How are y'all?
Good.
Good. So I have a question. Kind of related to what Dan was talking about. We deal with wedding cakes, and we have, one may serve 50, one may serve 100. When are we going to get to a point to where the governor or the city or whomever says, okay, you can have 100 people together, or you can have 50 people together? I've got a lot of, brides trying to figure out, their venues, their status on everything. And so, can you give me any guidance as to when we're going to get any information with that?
Sure. The best answer I can give you right now is, we're trying to do around no more than 10 right now. It's the kind of guidance. The executive order has changed it to just minimize. In my feeling on interpreting that, and Gary and Cody and I have visited numerous times on this specific topic. I feel that the governor was ambiguous in regards to this aspect. In terms of the panhandle, I would see that, that discussion coming up at least in late May to start talking about that. Like some of your events, and the other one that we have not talked about a whole lot is our funerals. A lot of the funerals have been really affected by this. I've had numerous calls from them as well. But I think we're going to do 2-week intervals, Mandy, to analyze that, to see. I do feel the way it's going to go, we'll open it up slowly. And so at first it may be 25 people, and then 50, and then 75, or maybe a little bit greater than that. Because when we got into this, we started out at what was it, Cody? 150 or 300, I think, to start. Do you remember? And then, yeah.
Yeah, it started off at 500, and we went to 250, and then 50 and 10.
But yeah, 250 and 10. I think it'll go that way, that'll be the way we try to swing it. And so that could be 30 days from now, that could be 60 days from now. Right now we are advising people not to have those types of gatherings. We will reassess that on May 15th through 18th to see how much we've progressed, to see the numbers and the data that have occurred in the Amarillo public health area. So it could be as far out as 90 days or farther out. So the Amarillo Public Health won't speculate. They're very data driven in terms of the positive cases. But this is going to go out through summer, no doubt. And then I would resemble that some normalcy will start mid-fall, if not later. So that was a long response to your question, but that's the best wisdom I can give.
So I guess my question is, because it doesn't surprise me at all through the summer, but I have so many that are wanting to reschedule weddings for September, October and whatnot. And so when you have those and it's like they're wanting to serve 150, is that still like out? Do you think, I know you really can't say for sure, and I'm not going to hold you to this, but like, do you foresee in those fall months being able to have groups like that? Like, I'm just trying to figure out how to guide my brides realistically into what they need to do.
I think you're on the right track. I would see those months. I probably would go no sooner than August 31st, but September and October seems to be the consensus amongst big groups like that so far. The only thing is, where does the panhandle sit as we progress over the next 2 to 4 weeks? Do we get a lot worse, or do we start subsiding with our numbers? Our numbers are going to go up. There's no doubt about that. But do those start scaling back instead of going up and start scaling back? That's what we're looking at. When we start scaling back and it starts going a little less linear, like in the chart, then we will start having better understanding of that. But yes, I think those are still some solid months. I'd say mid-September is probably good, starting there, and looking at that. As you said, there are no definitives. We could regress, have to shut things back down. That is a possibility too. So, but that's the guidance I would give. I think you're doing right, Mandy, in giving them September, October.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Great question.
You do have one in the Q&A, Joe.
Sure. What do we got? Jim, we got a question. If we own a gym, are we able to go inside to keep it clean, or do we stay home? Gyms just cannot be open to the public. And so if you own the gym, you're more than happy to go. You're more than happy to go in there and clean and do everything you need. It just cannot be open to the public right now. We thought the governor was going to make that decision to open those back up. Obviously, that did not happen. We will see if he does take action in the middle of May to open those back up, as well as salons and barbershops. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, you are more than able to go in and do things you need in your gym. You just cannot open it to your membership. Great question. Anybody else? I hope we've given you a little insight on some of the things moving forward. The mayor and Mayor Pro Tem have really taken a lot of effort into trying to help communicate to all of our stakeholders in town. We are going to visit with the pastors in town as well. And so we're trying to just cover as much ground as possible, but please don't hesitate to visit with any one of us. 3 of us have been very involved since day one of this. And I do hope that as things do change and progress, we're able to do more Zoom meetings to talk about what's going on and the change and transition as we move forward, as well as talking about where we stand in the Amarillo area in terms of our confirmed cases. But I just want to reiterate what these 2 guys have already said. Thank you so much for all the efforts y'all are making with your restrictions, cleaning, slowly opening things up. Y'all are the reason we're in the shape we are in now, and that things are not running rampant. We don't have 50 cases in Canyon. It's y'all are playing your part just like each one of us, and we really do appreciate that, and it shows. It does show on our end. So if nobody has any other questions, I'll go ahead and call this to a close. Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Just throughout, we appreciate you all. We're all in it together. Canyon still, in the scheme of things, is a pretty small community, and we're doing life together. And it's just important we all do it well. And like Joe says, keep the cases down, and we have. And so, if you do see things that we need to communicate better as a city or so, let us know. We appreciate you all and in it with you.
Yeah, I just reiterate what the mayor says. Please continue to communicate with us if there's something that you feel like the city can do. Again, like I said earlier, we're praying for you guys, and I suspect I will see a couple of you guys tomorrow sometime.
Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. Stay healthy and God bless.